You're fired.
Chief. The droll.
Oh, right. You're unfired. I need you. Come here.
What's going on, guys? Logan YuGiOh here, and I'm finally here with Drytron's 2.0. We got the new updated list, and I can't wait to show it to you guys. I gotta tell you, we've got a new unexpected boss in the deck, and his name is Dragoon. You know, we used to play him in Dragoon, we used to play him in a whole bunch of things. Now he has a home in Drytron, and I'm going to tell you exactly why that is. So be sure to stick around till the end of the video for an in-depth explanation and example as to why Drytron players should be giving Dragoon a chance in their decks. Before we get into the deck profile, don't forget to check out your playmat, link in the description down below. Be sure to give him some love and use my affiliate link for a discount. It helps me out a ton. And yeah, without further ado, let's hop into the deck list. What's going on, guys? Logan YuGiOh here, the Drykage, with finally Drytron version 2.0. I'm sorry I kept you waiting for so long. I really wanted to test out a whole bunch of things with this list to make it as good as possible. And after multiple undefeateds at locals, back-to-back tops in a new state, and 16-0 on stream, I'm happy to bring you guys this list. Without further ado, let's hop into my take and we can talk about it. So I'm going to go super quick through the obvious stuff. Starting things off, triple copies of Alpha, triple copies of Zeta, double Delta now. We're doing 2 Deltas now, which is a little different, and 2 Gammas. 10 names is what's been working for me. I think you see them the perfect amount. You've got the maxed out numbers of the ones that are most important, and you have the added benefit of having the additional copies. It's of the other more utility ones like Delta and Gamma. It's important to have access to names, obviously, and we've cut back on some other cards that I think makes having these names more essential. Moving into our ritual monsters, some things will never change. We're still playing the Ben 10 as long as it's legal. I'm still choosing to play 1 I to 10. A lot of people cutting this. On top of that, I'm also main decking the Natasha. I've seen a lot of lists not playing either of these cards and playing a more consolidated ritual package. I'm a little opposed to this. I think the rituals are what really give you your longevity, your ability to play through hand traps, and your grand game. Now, some will argue that one of our other card choices may make these unnecessary. I disagree. I think Natasha is still such an essential strategy. But we might be beating a dead horse. I want to hear your thoughts, if you think these are necessary or if we could use these slots for something else. Follow that up. The 1 Herald of Ultimateness, you guys already know this is mandatory. It's one of your biggest end pieces of the board. And I'm still playing the 1 Draconids. You don't really need to play this anymore. I'm going to be 100% transparent. I carried this over into this list and I've continued to have it come up from time to time. However, with our new boss monster, it's not as important. You don't need it to play through hand traps as much as you used to. Moving on to the other basic stuff we can go through real quick. Triple Diviner, that'll never change. Triple Herald of Orange Light. I'm still on Triple Herald Double Eva. I know the, of course, PAX list played 2 and 1, and other lists are taking that as well. That's more so if you're playing the pre-preparation build with the regular Herald of Perfection. Not a big fan of that one. I tried it. I definitely tried. I've tried almost everything at this point. Was not a fan of it. So that is how we're rocking and rolling. Now we're main decking hand traps. Kind of crazy. I know we didn't do that much in the past, but we're doing triple Valor and triple Droll because these are the most high impact in archetypal hand traps you can play, right? So Droll is obviously high impact. It's good in the mirror match. It's good against, it's okay against Tri-Brigades. It's good against Strikers. There's so many places where this card comes up and can be a turn ender. Adding Nisters, game over. It makes it super easy, and it's very important to play in my opinion right now. And then Valor, similar deal, right? It's got that utility. You could turn these into Ash Blossoms, but I don't advise it because I think you're better off playing the level 1 hand trap. That can be just as impactful in certain scenarios, right? You can use this on a Kagari, a Shizuku. You can use this on a Tri-Brigade monster. That makes it a little better right there. It's really good. It's really good. So I highly advocate for these to be the 6 hand traps you main. This on top of the Orange Lights gives you 9 total in the main, which is an okay number for a combo deck that's not a 1-card combo deck that requires minimum 2 cards. So curious to hear your thoughts, but that's where we're rocking. And as you know, our new boss monster boy requires these 2 pieces, the Garnets, Dark Magician, and Red Eyes Black Dragon. Our boy Dragoon is in it. I'm telling you guys, we're going to talk about him later. Spells, Triple Nova. You need it. Double Medionis. Oh my gosh, so this is different for me. I never used to play 2 Medionis, but I'm playing 2 Medionis now. I used to think you only need 1. I really did.
But unfortunately, we're at the point where having the second copy of Meteonis gives you so much more utility, lets you play further, generate more advantage, and when you hard open it, you don't have to even go into your Zeta. It makes Zeta an optional piece. It comes up. It really does come up, the second copy. So, you know, you don't need it. You absolutely don't need it. This could be another slot, 100%, if you want to play with it. But I'm kind of sold on 2 now. I'm kind of sold on 2. Not going to lie to you. Moving on from there, more obvious stuff. Triple Cyber Emergency searches any name. 1 Foolish Burial sends any name. 1 Call by the Grave stops hand traps. And then the last card to round it all out is 1 Red Eyes Fusion. Now, please don't kick me too hard. This is a 42 card list. And I'm okay with playing 42 in a deck that's playing the Dragoon package. In my opinion, the 2 pieces of Dragoon, the Dark Magician, and the Red Eyes are the 41st and 42nd card. However, we already talked about some other things that you could cut if you want to be an even 40. But yeah, that's my take on that. Now let's move on to the extra deck. Obviously, we're playing the Dragoon. I'll give the quick version of this now, but if you want the more in-depth of the scenarios where it comes up, be sure to wait till the end of the video for some examples and things like that. But Red Eyes Dark Dragoon, obviously it helps you play through hand traps. You can go through 2 or 3 cards in your opponent's hand getting hand trapped. As long as you still have 2 monsters on your field, you throw up a Dragoon and be like, okay, whatever you have left in your hand, you got to deal with this guy. So it's a great alternative strategy. It's also insane on turns 2 to help clean out the game, or when you're going second, you can use it to blow up cards. Same deal, you're running through your opponent's resources, you're left with 2 monsters, cool. Bing, bing, Verte, bong, pop, pop, attack, maybe even game. It's really, really good. Moving on from there, simple stuff. 2 more Beta Fafnir, you have to play 2. It's mandatory now. I can't believe I used to play 1 in version 1.0. You need 2. Gives you the grind game. It's essential. Play 2 copies of Moy Beta. I'm still playing 1 Lyrilusk Assembled Nightingale. You can make this a Downer Magician. You can make this a Fuko. There's a lot of things you could do with this, but I'm choosing to play the Assembled Nightingale for the direct attack. It does come up. It is relevant. However, I don't like the fact that I don't have an extra material for my Zeus. I will have 1 send max unless I let this live and something gets destroyed, and that gives me a 2nd send. Some people get punished by that, but in general, it's going to be a 1 send Zeus. So, you know, take that how you will. If you can find the extra room in here, make it happen. But the deck got even tighter once we added in Dragoon. And of course, playing the 1 Beatrice is mandatory for the combos. Moving on. Link monsters. 1 Link Karibo, mandatory. 1 Verte, mandatory for the Dragoon. 1 Nightmare Phoenix, technically optional, but it's really important to plop. It's really important to pop Floodgates. So I think it's pretty essential, but curious to hear your thoughts. 1 Nightmare Unicorn, these are your pieces that also help you climb into that access code. 1 Apollosa for the negates. And technically, you get rid of this, but there's so many times where I go into it, so I don't necessarily want to. And then the 1 access code talker. So, yeah. The Appaloosa could become an IP. This could be another spot for an Exceed monster to make your Zeus more powerful. Moving on from there, we're playing 2 Herald the Arclight. I still think this is mandatory at this point because it gives you that guaranteed follow-up. For example, if you're running through fairies on your opponent's turn to the point where you don't have a extra Drytron monster in your name, but you do have 1 copy of Diviner, if you have no rituals or no Drytrons in hand or on the field, you need the extra Herald in deck. So you're not relying on a top deck to get you to continue to play and clear out the game. And finally, the 1 Nits, or Elder Entity, Entis, whatever you want to call it, mandatory. Pops cards, pops floodgates, deals with annoying things. You gotta play it, guys. You gotta play this. I think that's pretty obvious. Alright, I'll run through my side deck real quick. Some things are carryovers, so won't spend too much time on it. I only got room for 2 Lancias right now. I don't like doing 2 Ubs, but it's technically searchable. However, and it's a fairy, so that's good as well. If we're match up for some reason, or it's not coming up in this particular scenario, use it with an orange light. But yeah, I would like to find room for the 3rd. It's obviously in here for things like Tri-Brigade, Orchist, if you run into it. Yeah, but Dino, I guess, if that's even a deck anymore. But yeah, still playing the 2 Lancias, subject to change. This is I'm pretty sold on. I've got 2 Droplets and Triple Dark Ruler in here for going second against combo-centric decks and things that put up boards that I want to make real easy, not have to worry about it. For example, Elemental Heroes. Surprisingly, you will run into those sometimes, and this can help take care of that Dark Law. These are both important against the Winda in the Invoked matchup, so these are always coming in the Invoked matchup because you don't want to deal with that Winda or that Mechaba making your life more difficult. Just say no. And obviously in the Mirror match, now I get it, I know what you're going to say. It does get a little dicey when you have to deal with those orange lights, but I think it's pretty, like, the benefit outweighs the cost on that one. And when you're playing the Dragoon package, it makes it even easier to clean up the board. So these are good. These are good. Moving on from there, I'm still doing the Triple Mystic Mine. This is a cuttable card, I think. I think you could change this to something else. I was leaning towards possibly evenly matches or additional hand traps like a Bell or an Ash or something like that. But for now, the jury's still out on that one. I am playing with the Mystic Mines. It does still come up so many times, stealing games, especially in the Tri-Brigade match. It makes it really easy. You just throw down the Mystic Mine, say, good luck, have fun. This in the mirror match, I don't normally bring this in the mirror match, but if you hit them with the Dark Ruler No More, slap down the Mystic Mine, that's game. It is almost always game. It's extremely difficult to get out of it, especially if it's the mirror match and they don't expect something like this. You can really punish a player. Now for the spell and trap removal, all of this is 100% mandatory. You have to play all these cards. Triple Twin, mandatory. The 1 Harpies for the Duster, absolutely mandatory. And I guess this is the one you could say isn't, but I still think it is the 1 copy of Red Reboot. For those trap-based decks, anything that's back row reliant, just make the matchup a cakewalk. And the whole thing is, here's why we don't do Lightning Storm, okay? You need something chainable, okay? If you get hit with that IO or that anti-spell, your Lightning Storm's not doing anything. That's why the Twins are here, just to get them out of there. And we're not doing Cosmic either because we need more high impact. We need to hit more cards. We need to hit out the Prank Kids Pandemonium. We need to hit out multiple cards, okay? So that's why we're doing this. That's it, guys. That is the list. So be sure to stick around for another minute for some combos and discussions about the Dragoon. But let me know what you think in the comments down below. Don't forget to leave a like, and let's move on. Alright guys, first and foremost, thank you so much for sticking around to the end of the video. It's time to show you a little bit of bonus content. So the first thing I want to show you is a scenario that happened to me today, true story, where the Dragoon came in to win me the match. And this is going first against Sub-Terror Dragoon. I was actually able to get saved through an interruption by playing the Dragoon. So this is my opening hand, right? You know, not the greatest, but could theoretically be full combo. Now, of course, with an interruption facing us down, that was not the case, but I'm going to show you what happened and what we were able to do. So starting off here with this particular hand, I decided to start with the Zeta, pitching off this Gamma and getting a free search for the Medionis Drytron. So we already had 1 copy. This is indeed the 2nd copy, but we don't want to say no to the additional hand advantage. So, moving on from here, that goes through so far so good, right? If we got ashed or something like that on the Zeta, we still would have been able to continue to play with the Gamma, but this was the safest bet in my opinion. So I go up into the Link Haribo. The reason for this is we need the additional body on field. Just in case this Gamma gets DD Crowed, Belled, yada yada yada, we need to be able to make the Dragoon as the backup strategy. So we've got that additional body secured on the field. I decided to declare the Gamma effect, pitching the Big Chungus Medionis Draconids, special summoning himself, and bringing back that Zeta into play. So far so good. Proceed to overlay into the Moy Beta Fafnir and declare its effect to Foolish Burial a card. This, however, got Ash Blossomed, so I was a little surprised that he used the Ash on this, but it didn't necessarily completely lose us the game. Of course, we didn't have any extenders, we didn't have the Nova, we didn't have the Emergency to continue to play, but what we did have was Big Chungus in Graveyard, so I just cast one of those extra Medionises, pitched 2 off to bring him back onto the board. A free 4K body with an added interruption effect on the opponent's turn. Can't say no to that. Can't be targeted. Pretty strong, pretty good. So at this point, I was like, alright, let's reduce the attack of this Moy Beta Fafnir and get this back into our hand. We're out of usable names and have no pathway to Beatrice. What are we going to do? Well, of course, we're just going to turn these 2 guys right here into the Verte Anaconda. Use this effect, pay 2K, toss those pieces into the graveyard. So, you know, Red Eyes Fusion, Red Eyes Black, Dark Magician, throw them down, and throw up the Dragoon. So this gives us 2 forms of interruption on the opponent's turn with an extremely suboptimal opening hand. And they're good interruptions too, mind you, so, you know, we can fight through things. The first thing he did was cast that Sub-Terror Field spell. Not wanting to risk any headache, I decided to go ahead and shotgun my Draconids and pop that. If he had a Mystic Mind to follow it up, we got the Dragoon to deal with that. If he has a Red Eyes Fusion to follow that up, so be it. Better have it. Regardless, the next thing he does do is throw down that Red Eyes Fusion. We redeem the Dragoon Negate. Now, theoretically here, we have to do it. We have to do it, because if we don't, this is getting popped, this is getting popped, and then he can crash into this, and we're screwed. We're back at square one. So I chuck one of those extra Medionises to negate, get boosted. Any Dragoon summon that would happen, After this, if he had the second copy, he will not be able to out this Dragoon, so he can blow these two up, but this one's too big to deal with. And at this point, he only had 2 trap cards, which means it was super easy just to go for game. Didn't even have to worry about it. So that is a real scenario where this Dragoon came in super clutch. Alright guys, so before we close out this video, I just want to do some final talk about why you should be playing Dragoon right now in Drytron. And it really just comes down to brass tacks here. When you get interrupted, you need a backup plan that is super easy to access, and the fact that this only requires 2 monsters to get you into that Verte, which slaps out that Dragoon, it cannot be ignored any further. I can't take credit for the idea of playing Dragoon in this deck. I used to think it wasn't a good idea, adding in those extra bricks, but I'm telling you, in practice, it works phenomenally. Let's do an example. First, let's say you open up a 1-name hand, and you're unfortunately unable to establish any momentum. As I mentioned earlier in the deck profile, Drytron is a 2-card combo minimum deck that needs 2 cards to play. But if you open up 1 name and a normal summon, that normal summon can be a hand trap, a orange light, an Eva, anything like that. You can get into the Dragoon at the very least. Now, of course, you can still try and go for the Moy Beta route, and if the Moy Beta gets stopped, then so be it. But there is always the option there. You want to have that option in there. The other thing is super obvious. If you get drolled on your first search, you don't want to end on absolutely nothing. You can resolve an alpha, get drolled, and then be like, okay, well, I have an alpha Thubit on my field. I can normal summon a Diviner and send a Natasha from my deck just to, you know, fill up the grave a little bit, and then that can be my materials to make the Verte and the Dragoon. Against decks like Sky Striker, it's very strong, because it's hard for them to out the Dragoon and kill you. I mean, it's basically impossible unless they have triple tactics talents. So summoning the Dragoon is really, really good in those particular matchups. Sure, the Rose can force out the negate effect, but you're still having to make them fight through such a huge tower's monster. It is extremely relevant. So the whole idea is that when you establish the Dragoon, is it a win condition? Absolutely not, unless it's maybe turn 2 and you're closing out a game. It's not a win condition. It is the backup plan. So if you're getting hand trapped, if you get hit 2 times, you are still able to end on a Dragoon. Like, you know, Ash Veiler, hit with the droll, it comes up immensely. So I highly, highly, highly recommend that you guys give it a shot. Just give it a test drive. Sure, sometimes you're going to open up the pieces. Will it suck? Yes, but never have I ever opened up a hand where I opened a piece and still wasn't able to at least either establish the Dragoon or continue to play. Seldom will it ever happen, especially if your deck is built well. That's why I always recommend, we're doing 10 Drytron names now. You could cut this down to 9 and play a Fafnir. You could, there's a few leeway spots that we talked about in the deck profile, but we have to be built for maximum versatility, and that's where we're at right now. So again, I highly recommend you try out the Dragoon build. Again, the Draconids is our old backup strategy. The Dragoon is so much easier to access than this, especially through something like Droll. It doesn't require you to search this first or search the ritual spell first. It's excellent. It really is excellent. And now, of course, it's a bit win more, but there are times where even through Droll you can end on both of these. So just food for thought, guys. Food for thought. But at this point, I have to say that as Drytron players, we got to unite. We got to try out Dragoon. Give it a shot. Let me know what you think. Now, that's all I got for you guys today. Logan JYA signing off. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. Dry Kage out.